morning, everybody. Okay, well, I think in my note to you this week as part of the weekly email that goes out, I did share a little bit about my friend Lynette, who passed away very suddenly a couple of weeks ago. And she was a very big character. She was passionate about Jesus. She led church with her husband Malcolm, and we walked together in Nottingham for many years together, and she really was one of my best friends. And on Monday, James and I went to the Thanksgiving service for her life, which was truly amazing. It was in the Trent Vineyard building in Nottingham, and the Thursday before there'd been a family funeral at the graveside, and where there was apparently real grief poured out openly for her 4 wonderful children, her husband, and just a very few close friends. And at the celebration, we had a few moments with Malcolm, and he really said to us, well, now is the time where I've got to move forward, I've got to walk forward in a new reality, but thank God that he's with me. But obviously, he's going through a process of grieving. And this week, we were all grieving. When we went to that service, we were remembering, we were all changed by the process. We all went away, I believe, to live a bit differently, inspired by Lynette's life, to live a bit louder. She was quite a loud person, more generous, more thankful, with an eternal perspective, because all of us don't know, do we, how long we have to live in this life. And today, I feel I've got a very important message to share with us today, from the next part of our Nehemiah series, really addressing the dark night of grieving and the new day of possibility. And so far in the Time to Build series, we've looked at the background of Nehemiah. We've seen how Nehemiah faced the facts and believed the promises. And last week we saw how he was positioned for purpose and how his relationship with the king and his relationship with the King of Kings led to his journey to Jerusalem and to favour from God. And today we actually see him arriving in the city of Jerusalem and what he does first. And I believe this speaks to us here at All Nations today. This is a message just for you about some hard work that we all need to do before we can truly move forward as people, before we can truly move forward as church. And I've entitled this message, Ride Through the Night and Face the New Day. So Nehemiah here is speaking. It's chapter 2, verse 11 to 18, and I'm reading from the NIV. I went to Jerusalem, and after staying there 3 days, I set out during the night with a few others. I'd not told anyone what my God had put in my heart to do for Jerusalem. There were no mounts with me except the one I was riding on, and by night I went out through the valley gate towards the Jackal Well and the Dung Gate, examining the walls of Jerusalem, which had been broken down, and its gates which had been destroyed by fire. Then I moved on towards the Fountain Gate and the King's Pool, but there was not enough room for my mount to get through, so I went up the valley by night, examining the wall. Finally, I turned back and re-entered through the valley gate. The officials did not know where I had gone or what I was doing, because as yet I had said nothing to the Jews or the priests or nobles or officials or any others who would be doing the work. And then I said to them, you see the trouble we're in. Jerusalem lies in ruins and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and we'll no longer be in disgrace. I also told them about the gracious hand of my God on me and what the king had said to me. And they replied, let us start rebuilding. So they began this good work. Well, Lord, as we come to look at this passage together, we open our hearts to you. Lord, for you to speak to each of us individually and to us as a church exactly how you want to speak to us, Lord. And we just open our hearts to you right now, in Jesus' name. Amen. So a summary of this part of the story. Nehemiah arrives in Jerusalem, probably a 3-month journey from Susa, where he'd come from. He takes a breath, he has a break, it says after staying 3 days. Then he sets out, but not in the day, he sets out in the night, under cover of darkness, quietly. He takes with him a few close friends, a few close people. He keeps some things in his heart. He says, I haven't yet told anybody what I decided to do. He bides his time. It says the officials didn't know as yet where I'd gone or what I was doing, because I hadn't shared it with them yet. He rides a horse. He examines the ruins, presumably by torchlight. He goes through the valley by foot. By the way, that's the Kidron Brook, the Kidron Valley in verse 15, the same valley Jesus crossed to get to the Garden of Gethsemane on the night that he was betrayed, and mentioned through the Bible, and to the Valley Gate, which was built by King Uzziah. You know, in Isaiah, where it says, in the year King Uzziah died, that's the king who built that gate. So he gathers his core team, a variety of loyal people. He gives a heartfelt rallying cry at the right moment. He says, this is how it is, let's rebuild. And he points them to God. He says, I also told them about the gracious hand of my God on me and what the king had said to me. He says, we can do this, God is with us. And the team responds in heart, responds in action. It doesn't just say that these people nodded and said, oh yeah, great idea. It says they replied, let's start rebuilding. And so they began the good work. They made a start, they got their hands dirty and started to build the wall. Well, there's much we can focus on in there today. But specifically for today, I've been captured by this thought that Nehemiah rode through the night and then gathered the people, and together they faced the new day. This is for each of us today, and it's for us together. In life, like Nehemiah, at times, we must ride through the night. We must go through times of darkness, times of confusion, of grief, of sadness, questions, loneliness, pain. But with our God, the dawn always comes. And we must then face a new day. Can I say, this is not the old day remastered. It's not like an old film and you can watch it in a new sort of digitalised version. But it's rather like our friend Malcolm, who I've just spoken about, saying, well, I've now got to face a new reality, but God is with me. We can open our hearts again to healing. We can look at new possibilities. We dare to look forward. We've been changed by the night, and we live in a new and a deeper way. And we begin to see that our life is still worth living, and we can still be fruitful. So from this text, we're just going to allow the Holy Spirit to speak to us wherever we're at personally today. And I do want to ask you to say, I do believe this is a safe place today, just to let our guard down a little bit inside. And I hope that you feel able to do that. Ride through the night. Firstly, ride. When we go through dark times, let's not just walk through it, let's ride through it in terms of sometimes we can't put one foot in front of the other and we need Jesus to carry us. It says in the Bible, underneath are the everlasting arms. I'd like you to hear today Jesus say to you, I've got you. I've got this. I've got you. I can carry you through the night, like that horse carried Nehemiah through those dark places. Secondly, make a decision. Nehemiah made decisions. He says, I went to Jerusalem. He didn't just talk about it, he did it. He says, I set out during the night. During the night, he set out. Don't wait till it's light, till everything feels good, till everything feels right. Decide to set out now, while it's dark. Face the facts, as we've spoken about already in this service. Face the pain. Examine what is broken down. And have a happy few. I think it's King Richard III by Shakespeare, where it talks about this happy few, this band of brothers. Nehemiah had a happy few. He had a few others that he set out with. He needed maybe someone to hold the light for him so he could see these stones. There were no street lights. There was no other way of light shining out there in the dark. It would have been very, very dark. I wonder, do you have that? Do you have someone to walk with you? Maybe your life group, maybe some friends or your family. But have people that you can be really open with and that you can walk together with. And if you don't feel you have that, then come and talk to one of us and see if we can just help you. Listen to God. I've not told anyone, says Nehemiah, what my God had put in my heart to do for Jerusalem. I wonder, what has your God said to you? Be listening. And take time to grieve. When Nehemiah first heard the news about his city, it says he sat down, he mourned, he wept, he fasted for several days. It said in the passage that Hazel brought to us last Sunday that he looked sad in the king's presence, so the king wondered what was the matter. He was authentic. As he set out that night, I wonder, was he crying as he went and as he looked and saw in the dark, maybe by the light of a torchlight, what was the real situation with these walls? Did he grieve as the light shone on those burned stones and the gates? And look at your loss from every angle. Nehemiah looked at his loss from up on the horse, from up high. He came up high, if you like. It says there were no mounts with me except the one I was riding on. He was up higher than everybody else. He got up high to look. But he also got down low, because when he got to a certain place, there wasn't enough room for the horse. So maybe he got off, and from foot he saw from below, but also he went through this valley. And the journey through our night of grief, whatever that might be, may well be one of getting up high with God, but also getting down low in humility, in the dirt. And face your losses. So when Nehemiah speaks to the group, he says, you see the trouble we're in? Jerusalem lies in ruins. Its gates have been burned with fire. Grief is not just something we get over. If you've lost someone very close to you, you will know that that's true. It's not something you ever really fully get over as such, but it's something you can allow to change you. It's something we can allow to change us as we live through it. And I read this week in Hebrews, I've been reading Hebrews this week, it said, during the days of Jesus' life on earth, he offered up prayers and petitions with fervent cries and tears. At Lazarus' grave, Jesus didn't say, get a grip everybody, it's all going to be great. He wept. Jesus got emotional. Jesus allowed his emotions out, if you like. And it's important that we don't just bottle up grief. I wonder if you've dared face your losses, really. Maybe personal losses, family pain. Many of us, I know, are facing those or have faced those losses. Or maybe things are just not as you want, or things are not as they were. What about church losses? You may well have questions. Maybe thinking, well, what's happened? What about the prophecies? Maybe we're facing the loss of dreams, of friendships, even of trusting God. I had a friend who was in another part of TLC. She goes to another TLC campus, and she came into this building when it was our TLC together a few weeks ago, and it's the first time that she'd come into this building for a long time. And she used to be a part of All Nations before she became part of TLC. And she said, all these memories came flooding back. Memories came flooding back of putting money into a cement mixer to pay for the building. Maybe some of you remember that. Of someone called Ron Eagles and an offering. And then also memories came flooding back to her of subsequent pain and broken relationships. And she had to sort of work through that, really, as she was in that service. Whatever your losses, embrace them, face them. Can I encourage us? Don't be stoical. This is very British. We have something to learn from many of the other beautiful cultures around us. Some of us are much better than others at actually facing the things that we feel. If we push down pain, it resurfaces at some point in our life. So I encourage you not to do that. This is not navel-gazing. This isn't selfish. It's not just for ladies either. It's for men and women. And it's for young and old to be healed in the Father's arms, ready for him to use us. Because there are wounds that need healing and there is pain. So I'd encourage you not to spiritualise it, not to just say, this is my cross to bear. Not to minimise it, just say, oh, my issues, my feelings aren't so important as other people's. Not to anaesthetise it either. It's so easy to numb pain when it comes up by just pushing a button on the TV or plugging into our phone, turning on the music, going to the fridge, have another something to eat, or feeding an addiction. Keep busy and ignore. And you know, my friend Lynette, she was from the West Indian culture. And I know at that graveside there was open, visceral, very heartfelt moaning, sort of groaning pain that came out. And I do think that's important, that sometimes we don't just push down loss, we don't just push down pain, we let it out. It's not good and it's not biblical to do that. Take responsibility. We face our own issues, we face our own pain. What have I lost? Maybe like Nehemiah went out at night around the walls, examining the walls. He was examining what had really been lost. And I'm sure he wept and dug deeper. There was a part of Nehemiah's night journey when he went through that valley. The Kidron Brook, the Kidron Valley. Don't be afraid of the dark. It completed his journey, it enabled him to see the way ahead. And it says in Psalm 23, I know I brought a little message a few weeks ago about the Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. It says, when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil because you are with me. And that's the truth. We walk through the valley. We don't just stay there, we walk through the valley, we ride through the night, as it were, and we will certainly, eventually, face the new day. So, as Nehemiah came through the valley gate, he had faced some of his fears, he'd examined the wall and his loss, and he felt the grief, and he was ready to welcome a new day. I wonder if the dawn was breaking. I've so much enjoyed it. Have you enjoyed the beautiful sunrises this past week? Anybody noticed that? The beautiful colours in creation. We're very blessed to have a golf course out the back of our garden, so before the golfers get out there in the morning, I sneak out with the dog early on, and it's just absolutely beautiful at this time of year, all the different colours. Sunrise changes everything. And the light for Nehemiah shone on the ruins, and probably it seemed even more real in the light of day. What a task. What a lot to do. Rebuilding, restoring. This wouldn't be the old days. This would be a new reality. As a church, grief, if we allow it to, can change us for good. It means we won't be afraid to say, I don't know. It means we won't be afraid to say, I can live with a bit of mess. It means we'll be okay with a bit of lack of clarity, that we'll be more humble, we'll be more willing to take risks, we'll be more aware of eternity, we'll be more loving to the broken, because after all, they're like us. We'll be more real. I wonder, can we say like Nehemiah, you see the trouble we're in, Jerusalem lies in ruins and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace. This is where we are, says Nehemiah, but it's a new day. Now, he had his critics, even his enemies, and we're going to find out more about those in the weeks to come. But can we say, like the people in this team, let us start rebuilding? And so they began the good work. They made a start. Building's a messy business. But a new design will only remain a drawing on a bit of paper unless the team works together and the place is built. Our new Open Hands Centre, we've been popping in quite often, David and I, just seeing the progress because it's nearly completed. Once a warehouse with a few steam engines owned by the council in it, and I remember going and seeing it in that state. I remember some trustees meetings where it was just a plan, and now we see it nearly finished. And on Tuesday we're going to sit as a staff in our old Compassion Centre, which is now reverted, really more or less, because a lot of things have been taken out of there and torn down. It's now reverted more or less to that old garage again that it used to be years ago. And I think we're going to sit there and we're going to give an offering of thanks for all the lives that have been changed there, because a new reality is being born. Are we ready to see our lives rebuilt, repaired with gold? Because this is how Jesus repairs. So people see our brokenness, but they also see the beauty of a life restored. Are we ready to see relationships rebuilt and new ones built? Because new people are going to come in here and find Jesus here. People are going to come back to Jesus here. People who have got out of church, got disillusioned with the body of Christ, are going to come and find a home here again. Because in the end, the church is still God's plan A for the world. It's still his plan to use the church to reach the world. And we're part of that. And really, time is short, folks. You know, this isn't time to stay in this place for too long. But we do need to address whatever it is that we need to deal with in our lives. Are we ready to see the baptism tank opened again? Yeah. I remember we had a little video about baptism. It wasn't very easy to see on the screen today, but we want the baptism tanks open all around TLC over these next weeks. But on the last TLC together, a little girl, age 6, came running up to me and she said, "You'll never guess what? In this church, do you know what there is? Down the steps over there, there's a little mini swimming pool." Or, she said, it could be a hot tub. So I had to take the opportunity just to say what it really was. But let's believe to see our baptism tank open again very, very soon. Because lives are transformed. Are we ready to see us reaching out together in compassion, in kindness, in sharing the good news of Jesus in our own world and in this area here and in Leicester as a city? Are we beginning to see that? Well, we first need to make sure that we have ridden through the night, whatever night we each need to ride through. So let's go back there and just apply that as we come to a close. And I wonder is there somebody who could just play a little bit for me? That would be great, just gently in the background, thank you. Because the Father wants to bring healing today, here and now. And I just want to tell you a little story of somebody who I prayed with a few weeks ago, without mentioning her name. At TLC we offer something called a Freedom Hour, which is basically a very gentle way of prayer ministry where we encourage people to hear from God themselves and to get rid of lies, to break chains and to see them coming into freedom in Jesus. If any of you are interested in that, then do come and ask me about it. But several weeks ago, another pastor and I did a Freedom Hour with a lady who was born a Hindu and who's recently come to know Jesus. And she's just escaped many years of domestic abuse and come to live in Leicester. And over the lockdown time, she started coming on TLC online. And then through that, came in person into one of our campuses when they reopened. Now, Jesus did some great things for her over the Freedom Hour. And at the end, we asked Jesus to show her the result of what had just happened in her life. And she received some great words from him and some promises and some pictures. But then she said, "A word's just come into my mind, but it doesn't make sense. I don't even know what language it is," she said. And I said, "Well, just speak it out." And she said, "Well, it's the word kintsugi." And suddenly I knew what that was, because I'd heard of it before, and I just Googled it on my phone to check. I think we've got maybe we've got a picture to put up. Kintsugi is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery by putting the broken pieces together with lacquer dusted or mixed with powdered silver or gold. And it's an art that celebrates the beauty in brokenness. It makes something both useful and beautiful out of what has been damaged. And I believe that's what God is doing with us here. He's making something useful and beautiful out of what has been broken, if we just allow him to put us together again with his gold. Because he wants us each involved in rebuilding something new. Not rebuilding the old, but building something new. To see that our church, we're not going to look the same. Not the same as we did, because our brokenness will be seen. And his beauty and his love will be seen even more, because in 2 Corinthians it says that we are jars of clay carrying his glory. So I just wanted to invite us this morning to do a little bit of work in our hearts before we finish our service and we go and enjoy celebration cake with Samuel and Divine. I wanted us to just bring our hearts to him. Now, if you're broken here, you feel broken and you don't yet know Jesus, we'd love you to come and see us at the end, because we'd love to talk to you about a relationship with Jesus and finding that relationship with God that he died that you can have. But particularly for the rest of us today, I wonder if you're riding still through the night in some way. If there's still some broken down walls in me, you might say, parts of me that still need healing. I wonder if we're brave enough today to say, well, come and put me together with your God, Jesus, today. And I wonder if we're ready for the new day, or maybe not quite ready. But we're saying in our hearts, well, I want to be ready. Or we're saying, I'm committing to this journey. I just wonder if we bring ourselves to him as well now. And I thought it was important that when you do something physical, now that might mean you want to come, and we haven't got a prayer team today, so it will be a question of praying for one another, and that's fine. Just do it to pray for each other. And maybe you want to ask somebody near you, just say, will you pray with me? And maybe you can come forward and come and stand in the middle here while we sing in a moment. And maybe you want to find a place where you just go and kneel down before God on your own and just say, Lord, I'm asking you to heal me up, to mend the brokenness, to take me through the night and into this new day. Right, so I wonder if we just stand up where we are, please. I'm honestly not exactly sure what to do right now, but I think I'm going to hand it over to you and the Holy Spirit and just say we're going to sing a song, and either just join in with the song or do something, do some business with God yourself, or ask somebody, just say, will you pray with me? Will you pray with me today? And let's hold hands together and walk through the night, help each other into whatever looks like this new day. The new day for All Nations Church Leicester with TLC. There is a new day. Let's let hope rise in our heart today. Okay, so thank you, band. We'll just lead us in the song, and I'll let you do your own business with God.